Hey, it's good to see you again. I'm Billy Still.
I'm Angie McCarty.
We're pastors at St. Paul's United Methodist Church in Tucson, Arizona. One of our favorite parts of the week is the opportunity we have to come to visit with you, our friends in Tucson, and really people all over the world, which is really a surprise to me. But we know that friends in Anchorage and Okinawa and New York and Mississippi and all kinds of places, Washington, D.C. are joining us and will join us with this video, and well, it just makes us happy. So all of you, we love you, we really do. So thanks for joining us today. Today is Thursday. Yesterday was Ash Wednesday, the first day in the season that the church calls Lent. When I think about this season, initially I think about the story in the 4th chapter of the Gospel of Luke, commonly known as the temptation of Jesus. Jesus spends 40 days in the wilderness fasting from food and water. That's extreme. I fasted for as long as 3 or 4 days, and there have been periods in my life where I fasted 1 day a week for a number of months. I've done that. I don't have any imagination to help me understand what it means to fast for that long. And let me encourage you not to try.
No.
That would be really dangerous and unhealthy. And let's remember, he was Jesus, and we're not. But Jesus took this time as a time of focus and gathering purpose and to face temptation and Satan himself and his demons. What was he doing, Angie? What was he doing this for?
You know, as we look at this story, or really any story in the Bible, I think it's necessary to always look at it in its context. And so we look at the stories that are recorded as coming before this particular passage
Yes.
and then after. So you look at what comes before that, and it was the baptism of Jesus, where God declares for the first time who Jesus is. God declares, "This is my son, the beloved, with you I am well pleased." And so then Jesus enters into this time of really, I think, kind of making that purpose as God's son his own. He's focusing on that purpose, and he was clarifying for himself who God has said and called him to be, so that he could stand up in the face of life's greatest challenges, as evidenced by Satan's presence in this story in the wilderness. And then right after this experience in the wilderness, he returns to clarify for the people who he is and who he is called to be. He begins his public ministry right after this experience.
Well, so in the church, we, in a sense, encourage people to emulate this fasting. I'm not encouraging to be extreme like Jesus was in the physical sense. That would be a really special calling for God that I suppose some have from time to time, but I don't, and I'm not asking you to. But some would say, okay, so we're going to fast so we can become focused on God's presence in our life and try and understand what that means. But sometimes others would say, why? Why don't you just live this well all the time? What do you want to fast during Lent for? Just always live well. Well, why not?
Well, of course we should always live well. We should try our best to live well all the time. But from time to time in life, we're given the opportunity to take our lives to the next level, to do something different that changes the way we look at life and the way we experience life and the way we live life. So if we look at Jesus's time in the wilderness as an example of fasting, then we see that fasting is a time of sacrifice.
Yes.
That fasting is a time when we show our reliance on God and God completely. And also fasting can be a time when we are intentional and live with purpose.
Like we would often focus on many kinds of learnings. I really want to focus on this so I can learn something new. So let's talk for a moment about what it means to give something up for Lent and what we might give up. People think about giving up chocolate or caffeine,
sweets in general, or for me, salty things would be a sacrifice.
Salty sweets.
Chips and salsa. That would be a sacrifice.
Last year I gave up my car for Lent and rode my bicycle pretty much everywhere for a period of time. So I had somebody last night after our Ash Wednesday service at the church say to me, "I'm not sure what I'm going to give up. I don't want to give up something bad." To which I said, "Well, why? That seems like a really good idea for me." He said, "Well, because after Easter I'll just take it up again." To which I said, well, that's not a requirement. You know, you could give
don't
it up
have to.
just forever, and this could be the starting point. So this year for Lent, I don't think I'll do this forever, but for the Lenten season, and my wife and I are going to turn off the television. I suppose there may be a video of something that we might watch for some reason during that time, but we're not going to watch TV. We're going to try and have a different focus with our discretionary time. How about you, Angie?
I am giving up something very specific this year, and fasts are all relative, so what might be silly for someone else is a big sacrifice
Yeah.
that'll make an intentional difference. So
Yeah.
I am giving up talking on my cell phone in the car when my kids are in the car with me.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It means that I'm giving up something to take up something else in its place, which is our theme for Step by Step
Yes,
that begins
yes.
this coming Sunday.
Mhm.
So I am giving up the cell phone in the car while the kids are there so that I can take up using that time to intentionally engage with them instead of just shushing them and, forcing them to be quiet, which they never do, when we're in the car together. And I am
Which, when you're in the car together, that could be an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, huh?
yeah.
Oh boy, that
Yeah.
sounds so special. I'm glad I'm
Yeah.
not there for all of that. So here's some ways to think about Lenten fast. Some think of it this way, that we want to empty ourselves, meaning our spirits, but find physical demonstrations of ways to empty ourselves so that we might be filled with the presence of God. I have a number of friends who are taking up fast from foods in this particular way. I have a friend who's going to fast, it's bold, for 36 hours once a week during the Lenten season. I have some other friends who are being more modest and who are fasting during 2 meals a day on Friday, lunch and supper, eating breakfast Friday and breakfast again on Saturday, things like that. Some other folks are thinking that they want to give up a distraction so that they can take up something else. That's kind of my way of thinking about the television. I want to give up the distractions so my imagination can be stimulated by God, so we can be in the moment. And when we're home at night, Ann and I can be together in a different way all of a sudden, instead of turning on the TV just to kind of wipe things out for a couple of hours. We'll sit down at the couch and look at each other and
What will you do?
I don't know. We'll have to talk, I guess. Oh my, or read books, or go for a walk, or wow, that's all good. Skipping cable news and trying to find another source for understanding what's happening in the world. That can't be bad.
Yeah, I think if I were going to fast from the distraction, I'd have to fast from the children and pick
that
up
could be
the
a problem,
phone.
yeah.
But that's not going to happen. And so I'll fast from the thing that often takes me away from my kids, so that I can experience them in a different way. And all of this was because of you and the statistic that you found that you preached about a couple weeks ago about how little time parents actually spend truly engaged with their kids each week. And so that was what helped me to clarify this fast. And my kids are really excited about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And I bet you are too.
I am.
Well, here's the final thing I'd like to say about a Lenten fast. We can empty ourselves to be filled with God. We can empty ourselves and take something up and pray that God will use that in a new way. But more than anything else, I want to open my heart to the surprise that God has for me. God will do something through this fast that I've not yet imagined. Last year when I gave up my car, I expected to save money. I expected to kind of reduce the size of my carbon footprint. I expected to organize my day in a different way. I expected all of those things. What I did not expect that happened is I came into contact with a whole layer of the neighborhood between my house and the church of people who don't drive. A couple of homeless guys, people who ride the bus, people who walk, other cyclists. I've driven past all these people 100 times. I did not know they were there.
Yeah.
And so that was a helpful thing. And it helped me think about my place in the world differently. And I believe God will do that for us this year. So
too.
we hope you go to church somewhere this Sunday. We hope that God has a lovely surprise for you this Lent, and that it leads to a powerful experience of resurrection. Thanks be to God.
Amen.